Hello, and welcome to the Social Small Talk.
Hey everyone, this is Audra Brim, and I am so excited that you've joined me for this episode of the Social Small Talk. I'm the CEO and founder of Brim Media, and I have dedicated my professional life to helping the beauty industry navigate the digital space. I believe that everyone can succeed if we learn from each other. That's why I'm here bringing ideas and information that can help you navigate the noisy digital marketing space. Audra Brent here, taking a quick break. Thanks again for listening. I just wanted to let you know about the offer Brim Media has put together called the 6-Month Strategy to Grow Your Business. This is your chance to have a tailor-made 6-month strategy to grow your business online. Think of us as your digital partner. We work with you to create a cost-effective success plan for your social media and digital marketing efforts. To learn more, go to www.brimmedia.com/6-month-custom-plan. I can't wait to hear from you, and we look forward to working together. As we go into more about social media, obviously, like you said, with the retargeting ads and so many people push sales onto consumers, but can you think back as to what mistakes you've done on social media that maybe you wish you never did?
Yeah, I think that's, a pointed question. None of us like to look back, but I think it is so important because you kind of learn from that. And you can always sort of have that as a baseline of where you can go. I think for me, and actually it's a little back to this point around product and promotional sales. I've been in businesses where we've really let it swing too far, really let that pendulum swing too far, either to the product and promotional side or to the brand creative and that more brand marketing side. And, in both of the scenarios where, that's happened, I think you start to lose engagement with people and, not your full base, right? But you start to alienate some of your base. And I think people really lose interest because you're showing them too much of the same thing and you're really appealing to something that is maybe more of a niche part of your group. And I think anyone that has sort of a CRM system or something along those lines where they can kind of segment their customers and see, different customers have different needs for you. You're going to have people that are sales shoppers that only ever show up when you send them an email about, your Black Friday sale. You're going to have people that really respond to sort of your storytelling and your brand creative. And both of those customers have value to a company and to a brand, and they just behave differently and they have different needs and they might, sort of have different economic positioning. And so I think it's, as long as you're staying true to what your brand voice is, not alienating kind of one group or the other by swinging too heavy-handedly one side of the pendulum or the other. Because when I've done that, I think it's just never been beneficial to sort of growing organically or, really being able to sort of target different groups and segment. It really just narrows your scope so much.
Love that. I love that so much. Every marketer, even brands in general, we never like to look back at what we've done wrong, but it's always such a learning lesson. And ultimately, what we try to do at the Social Small Talk is really teach people, right, how to not create the same mistakes as us. So I appreciate you looking back. It makes me even happier because I feel like we're doing a good justice to other people. But in the same aspect, when we're looking at like the highlights of careers or really good metrics, what metrics do you look at to make sure social media is working for you? And I know this goes back to really the strategic goals of it, but when you're looking at whether it's an advertisement or an organic post, what are you looking at?
Yeah, I think that is, that's key because that's what we're kind of in day out. And, from a paid social perspective, I think it's really important not to only focus on ROAS. I think ROAS is a great sort of benchmark and a temperature check, but similar to, conversion on a website and the swings that you can see there when your sessions grow or shrink, I think it's really important to sort of understand all of the things that are influencing that return on ad spend. So, for me, obviously, it's looking at how creative is performing from a paid perspective. Are you getting the click-throughs? Is your audience right from an effectiveness perspective for the creative that you're displaying? That comes from that test and learn. You can kind of piece that apart there. And I think, also in terms of conversion, like, all right, if you're getting them to click through, but it's not converting, what about that customer journey isn't ticking or isn't really resonating with the customer? So you really have to look at sort of the full suite. Another really important one, and, this is, I think, I'm sure on the minds of many people, particularly with the high cost on the Facebook platform, but your cost per acquisition in terms of prospecting and bringing new customers into the brand, and really looking at, how that balances out with what your long-term goals are for your customers and what you're really, knowing what you're really willing to spend to bring someone new into the brand, but also then looking at, what that lifetime value of that customer is and what those next touch points are, so that you can make sure that you're bringing them back for that second purchase, or keeping them engaged. From an organic perspective, I do think that I love just that basic temperature check of all right, are followers growing? What does the engagement look like with our posts in terms of are they being surfaced? I think everyone sort of felt the pain, for example, on Instagram in terms of all right, that post didn't get a lot of interaction and likes, and therefore, my customer base probably isn't ever going to see it because it's never going to get surfaced in our feeds. So it could be the most amazing, well-crafted post, and no one's even going to get the chance to see it. So I think it's really key to look at the impressions and the engagement there, and really try different things and make sure that you're maybe not going so far that you're not true to your brand, but that you're always sort of tweaking things and trying new things to see what resonates with your customers, and make sure that you're actually surfacing your amazing content. Because when you're not paying for it, that's the best of both worlds, right? If people are seeing it, but you are still sort of speaking into, your existing group. So I think all of those have to be ticking. And then, you really have to look at sort of every metric involved to make sure that they're all sort of healthy and balanced, and know what your goals are.
I keep saying this, but you keep touching on every point I want everyone to hear about. The lifetime, I'm just going back to what you said beforehand, which is the lifetime value of a consumer when they come in is extremely important. And I think from at least my perspective of speaking to so many different brands, a lot of brands don't do this. They look at, oh, this one person came in, this was our cost per acquisition, cost per click, and they see them come in and they go, okay, good for them. But they don't look at, okay, how can we keep them in our sales cycle and ultimately get them off? And clearly I'm a social media marketer. That's not a shock to anybody. But what I always tell everyone, and I'm sure Facebook's not going to like me saying this, but if Facebook or Instagram was to shut down tomorrow and all of your followers were just there, you lost your customer base. So really making sure that that client acquisition goes into whether that's an email marketing campaign or getting them off somehow so that you have a way to touch them off of social media is so important to that lifetime acquisition. And I love that you touched on that, because I think we lose that, especially in the beauty industry. We tend to think, oh, we're posting, we're doing retargeted ads, they're just going to keep coming. And ultimately, we have to be doing another form of whether it's email marketing or giveaways or something to get them off of the social media platform to really engage just with your brand as well. So
I totally agree. It's funny. I was, when I was actually leaving one of my prior roles and moving on, I had this really great touch base with this amazing, person in the business that I was just connecting with before I kind of headed out the door. And they asked me, all right, if there was one piece of advice you would give me, what is it on, kind of on your last day? Tell me, no holds barred. And I was just like, your customers are gold. And so you need to make sure you own that customer, and their data, they're on file with you, you can communicate directly. And I think your point on, Facebook and shut down tomorrow, what would everyone do? You really have to have that one-to-one and kind of keep them part of your brand and not part of, someone else's company or brand.
exactly. And something better might pop up on their newsfeed tomorrow, right? We all have a certain ingredient in our brands that's different, or our story makes it different, but everyone's getting advertised all the time to jump ship from a favorite brand, because people are going after competitors and their customer base and so many other things. So making sure you're continually to touch them in different ways, whether that's offers or emails, not in the obnoxious way either, because I know we all have seen that. I'm sure your email looks the same way as mine, which is I get the emails that just go into my promotions all the time, and I don't ever look at them because it's frustrating. I get the same email every day. But it's really making sure you separate yourself branding wise from that. Now, I don't think Facebook or Instagram are going to go down tomorrow, but we do have our fun blips. And this is always my funniest part of what I do, which is the minute Facebook has a down moment, whether it's an hour or something, everyone goes on Twitter to see if Facebook's down. And we've all jumped ship from Twitter at some point, but somehow we always wind up back there to see if it's down. Or you'll always see Facebook or Instagram down as a trending hashtag. And it's always so funny to me because you're just like, wow, we just jumped ship right to another. And it's just like brands, right? We jump ship as soon as we see something better or something goes down. So always maintaining that customer acquisition. So jumping over to, obviously we talked about really what mistakes, what metrics we use on social media. What would you say is your biggest success on social media that you wish you could scream out loud to everybody that they could know?
I think that's the question, right? My biggest success has always been the opportunity to really tell a brand story. And I think one of the places where I've found that to be absolutely the most sort of resonating with customers is through Instagram stories. And, I won't speak to any sort of specific campaign that I did in the past, but one of the past retailers that I worked with, that really became, the connection with our customer. And it became the place where we could really speak about our brand. And I think, sure, we would advertise sales and things like that there, but really finding, what interested them and really dialing that in over a long period of time. It's not kind of one campaign and it's not something super flashy, but that is absolutely an incredibly hardworking channel. It is super specific to the medium. And so, you need to make sure that your creative is really tailored to that. And even, adapting how you speak to your customer and the types of topics that you bring up to them are adapted to Instagram stories. And I think for now, that's an area where I really see the most opportunity, both in the paid and the organic space for, sort of beauty brands, fashion brands, people that are kind of in this orbit of selling products that, people have this really emotional attachment to or, are really incorporating into their everyday lives. And frankly, people are currently still incorporating Instagram into their everyday lives. And for a lot of people nowadays, that's stories. So that's where I've really seen my biggest success.
I couldn't agree more. I keep telling our clients and everyone at Brim Media that stories in 2020 is the biggest platform. And organic has kind of gone away a bit, but not in a horrible way, but it's just the way of the world, right? We know that. But stories is organic and people watch it and want to know so much more, whether it's from a brand or personally. People are watching them more and more and more rather than just looking through their feed. I tend to only go on the top bubbles and watch everyone's story because I am nosy and I like to know what's going on in everyone's life. I also want to hear if a really cool thing, like a behind the scenes story from a brand is going on, or what new products may be coming out, or I want to feel like I'm the first person to know. And that goes back to the consumer looking at a story. They want to know the story of the brands, but they want to feel like they are the first person to know about something. And I agree. I think the biggest success for most companies is if they do stories really well this year, they'll be successful rather than trying to focus everywhere else. Well, I loved this conversation probably more than most, sorry to say, but mostly because you and I are just so in sync and I agree 100% with what you're saying and where you're talking about making sure ROI comes from and sales and marketing. I would love for people to be able to know where they could even find Ursa Major or be able to get a hold of you. Can you give everyone just a little shout out as to how they could get a hold of you later on?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I definitely want everyone to be able to find Ursa Major as well. And we sell through some amazing specialty beauty retailers that are in the clean beauty space, like Faline and Credo. We're also on Amazon for all of you, people that really need it fast and convenient. My favorite place is ursamajorvt.com, and we do some great perks for new customers, and we have an awesome discount for long-term subscribers there. So check that out. If you want to see little me, I am at Jamaliya, Jamaliya, and that's on Instagram. And of course, you can find me on, the old beast LinkedIn under Jamaliya Cobine.
Well, Jamaliya, I greatly appreciate you coming on and talking to us, whether it's about your past or what's going on at Ursa Major. It's been my delight to have you on the show. So thank you so much. And I can't wait for everyone to hear this and really implement so many things that you talked about.
Thank you, Audra. It was wonderful speaking with you today.
Thank you. Thanks so much for listening to The Social Small Talk. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please visit our website at brimmedia.com for more show notes and additional episodes. If you have time, please subscribe to the podcast and consider rating and reviewing the show. It always helps other people find us. By the way, I love hearing from listeners. So send me an email at audra@brimmedia.com with your feedback. And if you send me a question, maybe I'll read it on the show. Don't worry, it'll be anonymous.